Lachlan is running 58 marathons in 58 days. Why are you doing this?
It was shut down by everyone, and then Liam and I were on a run the next day, and I was like, but seriously, should we look into it?
Give us the top 3 tips to focusing on your general fitness and longevity. Lachlan Stuart, calling in from Australia. It is great to see you. Thanks for taking the time to come onto the show. I think my audience might not know what you're doing, and I need to get the obvious questions out of the way. Lachlan is running 58 marathons in 58 days. He is going to do it across America, so in every state in America, and he's then going to fly to Australia to run another 8 in the same consecutive days. And he's going to work it out so that he never misses, and that within every 24-hour period, he will be running a full marathon. Lachlan, why are you doing this?
Well, Zach, firstly, thanks for having me back on, dude. And I feel like this could be a little left field for most of your audience because I'm not a musician. I can strum a guitar to a degree, but that's where it ends.
That's fine.
Running 58 marathons literally stemmed off the back of a guest that I had on my show, the Iron Cowboy, and he completed 50 Ironmen in 50 days across 50 states back in 2014. And obviously having just moved to America, there's a number of things. I'm not allowed to work over there, so I'm flying back to Australia to work quite regularly. I love challenging myself physically, and I've noticed a decline in my mental health since I haven't been able to do both of those things, work as regularly as I would like and also challenge myself. So off the back of that conversation, I joked around with Liam and I joked around with my wife, Amy, and I was like, imagine if I did that, but like different. I added in Australia and New Zealand, and we ended up doing like heaps of marathons. And straight away it was shut down by everyone. And then Liam and I were on a run the next day, and I was like, but seriously, should we look into it? And straight after that, Liam's like, yeah, I'll come with you. And I was like, okay, well, I've got my first crew member. Then I told one of my clients back in Australia, he's like, yeah, I'll give you some cash for it. And then it became real. And so that idea was born. And then I obviously went into like deeper meaning people like yourself or Amy, like, why do you actually want to do it? And the truth is, for me, it's like I've always never felt good enough, regardless of what I've done. I come from a background growing up wanting to be a professional athlete. I was fortunate to play rugby over in France and live that lifestyle for a little bit. And now I've been searching for that next thing for so long. And, watching my wife and even people like yourself, Zach, who are constantly chasing, I guess, your greatness or what you love to do to the top of your ability, it makes me feel like I haven't reached that for myself yet. And, I've got a great business, but I feel like where I really excel is in doing big events like this and bringing communities together. And that's the big reason behind it, because I know based off I did 30 marathons in 30 days 2 years ago, we built this incredible community, and I had people doing their first 1K or their first 5K or their first half marathon in row, and watching people's lives transform off the back of that and seeing their mental health grow was like, I was like, man, this is actually something. Like, it's not a traditional job, but I'm raising funds for people. I, got speaking gigs off the back of it, and I just genuinely loved it. Like, not just the physical part, but like bringing brands together. I'm talking about it at the moment. It's like I'm building my team of Avengers. Like, who are the people that I can collaborate with that have similar visions or missions and believe in what I'm doing, but we can raise their profile as well. And that's where we're at.
Wait, but I still don't understand how you had the initial idea. You were looking at other people who had done similar things, and then it just came to you that you could, what if you did 58 marathons?
Yeah. Well, one thing, so the initial 30 marathons was on a rower. And while it was challenging, it wasn't super challenging. And I've always been a good runner. I used to run national levels. So it's like my bread and butter. And marathons was something I'd never done until I got to Nashville. I ran my first marathon in Nashville. So within the last 12 months. So then it's like, okay, well, that could be a challenge that I've never really explored. So it scares me a little bit. And that's why we chose marathon running. And the reason why I tied Australia into it was because obviously I'm from Australia. I had this idea of finishing in Brisbane, our hometown, and it being this like awesome moment, which it may or may not be. And then also I knew that in order for me to get sponsors and really have an impact in the charity that I want to raise funds for, they're all based in Australia. So I knew that we needed to tie Australia in because, let's be honest, someone's already done 50 Ironman in 50 days across the states. 50 marathons doesn't seem like that big a deal.
What are
So
you
it has to be.
talking about, though? Because someone's already done it? So wait. Because I was going to ask you this. Is there any precedent for someone doing this? And I guess there is. Someone's done 50 Ironman.
Yeah, I think there's 4 people in the world who've ever done it. Because it's a logistic nightmare. And I think, and I will confirm this, but I feel like we're going to be the first people to ever do it in winter.
To do it. How do you know, though, that you can actually do this without serious injury? And you seem so unfazed by this, and maybe most people underestimate what the human body can do, but you seem so unfazed by this. And I think all that people talk about with marathon runners is injuries, or that the first guy to run a marathon, it killed him. Like, why are you so confident? And by the way, I am confident in you. So I don't want this to seem like I'm not confident, but I'm just curious why you are
the whole
confident.
tour.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe your confidence is slowly shifting in me, hopefully.
No. I am confident in you all the way. But to me, you have to consult people. How do you know that you're able to do this?
My belief comes from, so when I was there, a couple of memories stick out for me. There was a time when I was 11 years old, and this is, I'm 33 now, so it may be an irrelevant story, but it's very relevant to me. So I'd the year before won like everything for 400 meters, 800 meters cross country. So at that time it was about 3K or 2K, so not that big a deal. But I'd been touted as like this up and coming athlete, and I had a lot of pressure on me because I, saw that and heard that, and I was killing it in this race, in this cross country race, and I had an asthma attack. And I still remember like my windpipe was closing up, and I was like trying to run and push through. It sounds like Voldemort, doesn't it, Zach?
Yeah.
And I was pushing, and I didn't want to quit because I was like, I can't lose this. There's all this expectation that I've put on myself. And I got to the point where I couldn't breathe, so I had to just pull off to the side and get medical help. And I watched all these people run past, and I was just like bawling my eyes out. And from that moment, I was like, I knew that if I could start figuring out these small things that I guess not are wrong with me, but are holding me back. So asthma, and over the years, it's been like hamstring injuries and various other things. I can build a bulletproof body. And so I've gone down the rabbit hole of exploring nutrition, movement, mobility, all of these things to build a body as strong as you possibly could. Because I was also playing, when I was 2019, I was at a train and trial contract to play professional rugby league here in Australia. And I was having a ripper game. And same thing, Lachie Maranta, who's gone on to be a great at the game here, stepped past me and started running. And I turned to chase him, and my hamstring was like someone shot me with a sniper rifle. And same thing, I didn't come off the field, even though I've still got a hole in the back of my leg from where the muscle tore, because I was like, this is my moment. Like, this is everything I've been building for. The hamstring injury is not going to stop me. And obviously it did. I had to come off within a couple of minutes after that because I was useless. So I went down the rabbit hole of injury prevention again, looking at things.
And did you get surgery?
No, you don't get, you can if you tear it off the tendon off the bone, but I've just got a big divot in the back of my hamstring now. But after that, I've gone down the rabbit hole. It's like why I track things so meticulously, which could be for the average person you don't need to do. But when I'm working towards something like this, like I'm wearing a heart rate monitor 90% of the time, I'm tracking my sleep, my nutrition, my recovery to make sure that they're at the best of their ability. And from all the things that I've done over the years, Zach, this will be my 5th or 6th year in a row of doing like a huge, what I would consider a big event. I haven't just gone from sitting on the couch to running 58 marathons. I've done multiple 12-hour challenges, which have involved, triathlons and CrossFit events and various things like that have pushed me to the point of breaking, but didn't. And then I did the 30 marathons in 30 days 2 years ago, which same thing, pushed me to the point of breaking, but didn't. And so it's always probably similar to you, Zach, with you know, getting guests on the podcast, or when you got Bobby Bones on, that was the first time we really met. And I was in Nashville, and you're talking about putting this billboard up. I was like, this guy is crazy. But to
Yeah,
you, it was
but
just like the next logical step, right?
yeah, but to me, this is so nutty. This is first of all, how I when I've spoken to you about this, you've said in your mind it's already done, and I can appreciate that perspective because I kind of felt that way with the Bobby Bones billboard.
Correct.
In my mind, he was already coming on the show. That's how I really felt.
But where's that belief come from?
I don't know because sometimes I feel like I'm trying to find it. Like sometimes there's other moments where I feel like I don't have it, but sometimes I feel like sometimes I just can't explain it. It's there. I know it's going to work, but I think with your challenge, it just seems so physically the belief of yourself in your challenge. Is it just because you just know your body so well and you just believe that you're gonna be able to handle it?
Yes, is the short answer. I would say, just like you with Bobby Bones, like there's very, you know, there'd be a lot of things that you doubt around that. But I feel, because, you know, we were talking about podcast preparation in the car. So you really don't like it when people don't prepare for a podcast. And I was saying how, you know, we were on a road trip, and I was preparing like 4 days before a podcast because I believe in preparation. And I think preparation doesn't remove doubt, but it helps you deal with doubt. So I was talking with my psychologist yesterday about it, and the biggest doubt that I have about this whole thing is not the running, not the physical side. It's the, how do I continue to raise awareness? Like, how do I use my platform to? That's the biggest doubt that I have. I'm worried about not having an impact that I want, which is, you know, it's hard to quantify that really when you don't really speak to everyone that you're potentially impacting. But that's the biggest doubt that I have, that what I'm doing is not big enough.
Do you
So
think do you think when you finish this race, those feelings that you mentioned earlier about feeling like I don't know what you're feeling, but feeling like you're not good enough or whatever, even though you've done a lot and you got this amazing company and you know you should feel good enough. But do you think those feelings are going to go away after this race? And here's my caveat to that. I have done really big things in my life, and afterwards I do feel more worthy or more fulfilled or more whatever. So I'm not trying to bait you into one answer or the other. But do you think that there really is going to be a feeling of accomplishment at the end of this?
it's a great question. I feel there will be evidence for that to be like, yep, that's awesome. But I also know when I finished the marathons, I literally got on a flight a day later and went to Nashville and had forgot all about it. And I was thinking about the next thing. So one thing I can do better is I can take a bit of time to go, you know, I appreciate that. But I also, and I feel like you would relate to this, where once you got Bobby on, it's like, who's next? You feel like there's more to do, so you can appreciate and be content with what you have achieved. But now the benchmarks change, like the baseline has changed for who you can interview next or what you can do next. And I feel, for me, what I worry about is, once again, I lived off my rugby reputation for like 6 years. When I was building my business originally, it was like, I used to, and no one gives a shit about the I used to's. It's like, what are you doing now, and what are you working to? For me personally, like, what are you working towards? Because as soon as you stop, you're dying ultimately, and I don't want that. I want to continue to, you know, enjoy life and see what's possible, and that's not always going to be in the physical space. Maybe, you know, it probably won't be. It might be family, or, you know, we've got the challenge living over in Nashville. There's so many things that I really want to see how I can, you know, really be my best in that field.
Are you looking forward to these races or are you dreading them? Like how excited are you to be like 10 days in, you're going to be in the middle of like Wisconsin and you're going to be running another marathon and you're like, "Okay, I've already done 10. I've got 40 more or whatever." Like, does that excite you or do you think you are going to be miserable and thinking, "What the hell have I done?"
Dude, I don't want to be thinking that far ahead, honestly. I think I'm going to be going, what have I done? For sure.
No, really?
But there's going to be some elements. Even now, I'm training so much, like 28 hours, you know, 20 to 25 hours a week, which is boring when you're just running. And I was saying to Amy at dinner last night, I really don't like the training and I really don't like running. But what I will enjoy is those experiences. Like part of what's going to make the whole trip incredible will be the people that I meet and the places that I get to see. Like America, I didn't realize how beautiful America really is. Like when you're driving around and the fact that we're doing it in winter, so some places will have snow and some of the mountains and the landscapes you'll get to see, that's going to make it worth it. Like the runs themselves, yeah, there'll be some days where I absolutely just don't want to do it. It's the last thing that I want to do. But having a road tripping with one of my best friends and brother-in-law, that's going to be sick. Having my buddy flying over from France to do 10 days with us and another buddy fly over, like those moments are once in a lifetime experiences. So I think if you separate the running from it, no, I'm not excited about that at all. But the whole experience, and I think I have this infatuation with the idea that when we're 70, we'll be able to look back and look at footage and tell stories about it that so many people will never have experienced.
Are you going to accept if you at any point have to walk to finish the marathon? Will you accept that?
That's a tough one because I have a personal goal that I haven't spoken about that I would love to run all of them under 4 hours, like 4 hours or less, because most people, the average person, I think it's like 27% of people ever break 4 hours for a marathon. So I had a little personal goal, which now your audience knows, that I would love to do them all under 4 hours, which means I have to run an average of in miles, in kilometers, it's 5:37 per kilometer. So I'm going to assume that's somewhere in the 7 minutes for the mile to do that. So I think if I have to walk, I have to walk. I'm not going to like let my ego break me down and not finish the challenge. I think if I have to walk, yeah, I'll walk.
How are you going to know when you're doing this? How are you going to know if you have to walk versus if your brain, if you just need to push through mentally? Like, what is going to
Oh,
be the sign? Is it going to be pain? Is it going to be something like, how are you going to know when it's time to walk?
I think it's just going to be a feeling. Like because yeah, quite often your mind gives up before your body does, or
Yeah.
vice versa. Like sometimes you'll have foot pain, and I see it. Like I train with a lot of different people, and we would be doing the same workout or whatever it is, and they'll start, saying they got something going on, and in my head I've got the same thing happening, but there's a difference in threshold, and I think going back to what I know about my body, and then I'll have my recovery protocols. I think I have a good understanding of whether I'm bullshitting myself or not. And I also know that, once it's done, you can rest. Like I'm going to be getting straight into recovery. It's not like I have to do, I will have to do a little bit of work, but not too much. So that's my sole focus. So I think just get in and get it done. But if I need to walk, I need to walk. If I feel something's, incredibly wrong, I'll also walk.
Okay, fair. How have you figured out your meal plans for this? Because I know that was something that you were really thinking about how to eat, because you have to figure out how to eat affordably, healthy, quickly, and how to cook in your camper that you're basically gonna have, right?
Dude,
So,
100%.
what is the
So
meal?
he,
Do you know what the meals are gonna be?
we don't know what the meals are going to be. So the biggest issue right now is I was currently till about 2 weeks ago eating about 2,000 calories a day, which is the average diet for a person for energy intake. I need to be doing 6,000 or 5 to 6,000 a day before I start running. Like I should be putting on a little bit of weight. So that's tripling my caloric intake or my energy intake. Dude, that's so hard. We should do a food eating contest. There's a guy in America called Joey Chestnut who's like the hot dog eating
Yeah.
king. I might need a meal plan from him. But
But how are
no,
you gonna do it realistically? Shakes? Is it gonna be mostly shakes?
definitely, dude. So I think my idea is like good food. So I need a lot of protein because I'm going to be breaking a lot of muscle and everything down. So the protein is going to help with the recovery. So the challenge is that protein is very satiating and filling, so it takes away your appetite. So I think I'm going to try and eat as much protein and good foods as straight as soon as I can after the run, and same with the breakfast. And then around that, I'll be having chocolate milks, noodles, whatever goes down easy to top that up. But I think shakes is going to be the easiest way to get the liquid calories in.
Who and who do you need to consult to make sure that your body is in the right like you posted a thing on Instagram, I guess, where you were talking about 3 different trackers
Yep.
that you're using: a heart rate monitor,
Yep.
a Whoop, and an Apple Watch.
Yep.
And that gives you enough data to be able to assess whether you're in good standing for this.
It gives me enough to monitor it. I wouldn't say it's like super, it definitely gives me enough to know how my sleep is and my recovery and my stress levels, because you can watch if your heart rate variability, for those who don't know, it's the regular heartbeats or irregular heartbeats between each beat. So it doesn't need to be even, and the more irregular it is, the better. Like, it's healthier and it's just doing what it wants. The more fatigued you are, it's more like dung, 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 very consistent, which means you're fatigued. So based off of that, you can sort of tweak, how hard you may run. I might go, okay, like I'm really cooked here, so today I'm going to do a run, walk, run, walk, run, walk to try and manage that. Or I know I need to eat more because I'm not recovering well, or I might need to take, um, melatonin to knock myself out for a good sleep that night. Because one thing that a lot of people will never experience, Zach, is when you get your body so fatigued, you can't sleep. So when I was doing the ones a couple of years ago, I was like, this is going to be perfect. Amy's in Nashville. I'll row for 5 hours a day. Then I'll eat, do a little bit of work, and I'll sleep for 10 hours and we're good to go. But the problem is your body, like your nervous system, is so jacked up that it feels like you're getting electrocuted. All these currents are going up and down your legs and your feet, and you can't sleep. It's so uncomfortable. So I'm expecting that's going to happen at some point. So therefore, it's like one thing that I've been trying and is available in the US is CBD oil. So to really calm your nervous system. So I've got access to more things in the US because you guys have more stuff available than we do here, which I think is going to help with that recovery. The other thing that I wanted to touch on as well was running in the snow. I've never done that, dude. Like, apart from being in Nashville for like the little storm we had, and I
Yeah.
ran maybe 40K in the snow, or 20 miles. Uh, I have no idea. I've been watching videos on it, and that's got me a little bit worried, because a dude who ran a thing in Antarctica is like, you got to find like the perfect temperature, like longs to run in, because you're either going to freeze and get
Or get too
hypothermia,
hot. Yeah, yeah.
or you're going to get too hot and it's going to start sweating, and once again you're going to get hypothermia. So either way, you're screwed. And I was like, well, how do I know what the perfect temperature is when I'm in Australia and it's
He left that part
35
out of the
degrees?
video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's one thing that obviously when we come back to America, that's got to be a priority. Even finding shoes that don't get,
Slip. Yeah.
yeah. So
What? Because I've heard you talk about that you're going to have to avoid sugar because that can cause inflammation. But if I
yes,
was doing this race, all I would want at the end of the day is like a bowl of ice cream or something really sweet. At any point, will there be a cheat day on the race, or can you not afford that?
I think I will. I just think it's going to be the only way to get the calories in. As much as I have said in plenty of interviews, like, the ideal situation would be as healthy as possible to avoid the inflammation. I think, one, I'm probably definitely going to have the inflammation, but I just will need the calories more to be able to actually recover. So your ice creams and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and bagels and burgers, and that's gonna, because you can just eat so much of that. So that's definitely gonna happen, but I'm gonna definitely try and space that out a couple of days. So, because I know if I eat a lot of sugary stuff, sugary foods, I wake up the next day and my knees are aching, my ankles are aching. And I did it when we were on tour. I think it was in New York, and we'd just eaten a lot of ice cream one night, and the next day it was the most painful run I'd had in a very long time. So
Yeah.
that was challenging. So I wanted to circle back because I went off on a tangent before about the trackers and going back to all the data. Two
Yes.
things that I'm getting done here that I think are important is, one is blood work. So I get my blood work done every year, and it tracks like your testosterone and white blood cell count, red blood cell count, etc. So I'll get that done again, and it'll just go against my baseline. So it probably isn't going to be as good as it was last year because I've been training a lot more. Sorry, and your white blood cells are, probably a bit fatigued, and my testosterone would be down, and a few other things. But it's going to be good to see how much that varies within a 58-day period, and then also I'm going to get a heart scan. So I 2011, I got electrocuted in Thailand at the full moon party. And so ever since then, I've had like an irregular heartbeat from that. So I'll get that scan, like that's just so it can be like properly checked. And then I have more data to go by. Because as much as these can check all of that, it can't check your vitals to the degree that
Right.
like having a proper
Wait, did
scan
you
will.
die when you were electrocuted?
No. I just went flying through the air.
Oh my
Do you want me
God.
to tell that story? I'll tell that story if you
Wait,
want.
you were in Thailand?
Yeah. So Thailand for us is maybe like Mexico for you guys,
Yeah.
potentially, where it's like once we finish school, we go, there's this party called Full Moon Party. And Full Moon Party is on an island called Koh Samui, which is, it's wild, man. There's no regulations, no rules. There's, you know, people die all the time. And literally you'll watch these little like tree trunks of boats that have like a hollow cut out and they're just going off into the waters and they'll crash because there's no lights on them. It's wild. But anyway, the party is amazing. And we had a villa on the front, and a villa, probably similar to Mexico, is not that expensive. So you've got a lot of young idiots renting them like myself back in the day. And the unfortunate thing was out the front of our villa, which we didn't know, and I was pretty intoxicated at the time, there was this metal rod connecting up to obviously a power pole. And Winton, my buddy, he's running like, we're going to the beach, we're going to the beach. And I was like, yep, we're going to the beach. And he's jumped onto this pole to like swing onto the beach. You know how you sort of just go,
Yeah.
and he's gone, psst. And then because I was so close behind, I didn't really recognize what happened. And I did the exact same thing. And I was like, psst. And we're both like, holy shit, just got electrocuted. Don't touch that pole. Don't touch that pole. And when we came back to Australia, I had to have my heart checked because I was having surgery on my nose. And then that's when they figured out, like, I had to wear the whole ECG machine for 24 hours, that my heart was not as good as it could have been.
That is crazy. I've heard you talk about Lockie, and I've heard you mention this in interviews, that I've only known you for a couple of years, but you talk about, I guess in your early 20s, about struggling with drugs and alcohol and being unfaithful and like all these things. And I just cannot picture you being like, to me, when I hang around you now, you just seem like such a complete different, that just doesn't seem like you at all. Like, I can't picture you going on crazy benders or any of this. You just seem like such a stand-up guy. Was it, I mean, I think maybe you said that there was a book you read that really opened your eye, but like, to me, it just seems like I just can't picture that person. How did you transition, or like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's funny you say that, and I appreciate the kind words, because so many people who've met me probably after 2017, 18 say the exact same thing. When I'll sprinkle an old story and they'll go, I just can't picture that. And I'm at a point where I don't even, like, I can't picture that version of myself really anymore. And so how it all changed for me was I got in a bar fight, and then anyway, that didn't end up very well for me. And I remember sitting in a position like questioning, like, I feel like a disgusting person. Like, this is not who I want to be or how I want to be behaving. But because I was so desperate to fit in, I was doing a lot of things that I didn't agree with, but I got validated for because I was hanging around the wrong people. And it got to a point where, like, I'd moved back from France. I didn't have any like prospects of playing professional football, so I was like at the crossroad. And I started working for my dad as a carpenter, as a builder. And while I didn't like it, I still had this ambitious side to myself where I was like, to dad, I was like, okay, I'm going to do an apprenticeship and then I'm going to take over your company, because all I ever wanted to do and all I've ever wanted to do is be successful. And that definition of success has changed over the time. But I kept sabotaging myself because I was, I'd cheat a lot on my partner, and I would get into a lot of fights. I would try and escape my reality because I didn't like it, with drinking a lot and then partying a lot. And you get to a point where everything's going wrong, and the only person to, really take responsibility for that was myself. And I was very fortunate, a guy that I was playing park footy with, and this is so rare that you'll get to meet someone so great playing rugby because the culture's generally quite different. He invited me to go to this personal development event, and it cost me $25. Now, $25 when you're 23 years old and that's a carton of beer. So he literally said, if you invest $25, I promise you this will be one of the best things you ever do. And I was like, I'll get back to you on Thursday, because we had a really big football game on the weekend as well. And I was like, if I pay that, that means I can't afford a carton of beer for the weekend. Like, that's a big decision. But something in my stomach was telling me, go to this event. Like, just, you need something different. You have to do something different. And I went to this event. Anyway, fast forward, there was a guy speaking on stage, Ben Kelly, and I'm good friends with Ben now. And he was a bricklayer previously, and now he's doing public speaking. And he was telling his story about how he hated what he was doing. He had no purpose. He didn't really, did a lot of things that I was doing, and he was a bricklayer, and he was about to take his life. And he was in the seat that I was in, where his sister, lived in Perth and took him to a personal development event, and he went through that whole experience, started reading and shared a few things that he did. And I was like, I'm going to do exactly what he did, because I want to be the guy on stage that is inspiring and talking to thousands of people. And I went to work straight after that. I got to speak to him after the event. I got a few books off him, titles, like what did he read? What did he do? And the biggest challenge that I had, Zach, that I feel a lot of people experience, is when you go to change and you want to do something different, whether it's moving from New York to Nashville or whatever, there's going to be people who want to see you win. There's going to be people who, aren't really interested. And there's going to be people who are waiting for you to mess up. And the people who are waiting for you to mess up are the noisiest generally. So I had to move towns, and the first person that I really met was Amy. And she was like ambitious. She was not doing the traditional path. She was a musician. I'd never really hung out with musicians. And I was like, okay, this could be a whole new life for me. Like, I need to figure out who I am. I need to get off the booze. I need to get off the drugs. And I just need to be a good person. Like, I don't want to mess this up. So I just moved everything. I cut everyone off, which I wouldn't recommend doing knowing what I know now, but that's what I needed to do. And I just went in all in, and I had this idea of who I wanted to become. I wanted to become extremely trustworthy. I wanted to be able to have my own opinions and communicate well and have people respect what I have to say. And I wanted to respect myself. And more importantly, I just wanted to have a free lifestyle, one that financially I wasn't stressed about. And I also could just move around, because this was before Geronimo happened, but Amy was still doing a lot of travel. And I was like, I'd love to be able to travel like that. That's what I want. So I gravitated to finding mentors and people. And I was listening to a podcast you did, where when you first moved to Nashville, and you just started writing these beautiful emails to people that were really personalized to build your connections. And I was like, dude, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And that opened so many doorways for me. And I literally bumped into one of the guys who first believed in me in Brisbane 2 days ago. And I hadn't seen him for since our wedding, so 3 years. But he was the first successful, like, quote unquote, successful guy in Brisbane that gave me the time of day to go for a coffee. And I just remember all of those moments. And I remember, there's things that no one's perfect. So there's character traits that I admire about people, and there's things that maybe I don't want. So I've been trying to really pick the things that I admire about people and adopt that and really understand. I've got so many nice things I could say about you that I admire about you, and your hustle and the drive that you
Give me a
have, and
couple. No, I'm kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
don't,
Don't.
I was like, but I'm always doing that with people, because I'm not perfect. And I'm like, okay, what is it about that person that I really am gravitating to? There's got to be something. Then I'm trying to understand it. I'm watching, the best thing about going on tour with you, Zach, and the other guys for sure, is not only do I get to listen to your show and I get to see you at events, it's like now we get to see you from the moment that you wake up to the moment that I put you to bed. No, to the moment that
And
you
tuck
go to
me in.
yeah, tuck you in. But the moment that you go to bed, so you get to actually see the mannerisms, your physiology throughout the day, how you act. So you get to see what it takes to do that. And I don't know whether people realize how hard you work to do what you do, but for me, I'm like, dude, that is inspiring. Like, that's where I want to be. And so I guess to get myself out of it, the hardest part was saying no and removing myself from the environments that I used to be in, the people that I used to hang around with, and building that. And there's this lull period in the middle. Like, when I first moved to Brisbane, I didn't have any friends or people that I wanted to associate with. So it was very there were so many moments where I was like, I just should go back to my mates and drink some beers. Like I need to feel accepted. But I'm very fortunate that I didn't. And then after about 18 months, I built this whole new a network of incredible people who, were my best man at my wedding and have become great friends ever since. So that's how I've changed that. And now I literally don't think the same way that I used to think, I guess.
Why do you think there was this trip that I've heard you talk about in interviews before where you were on a trip in Thailand and you were in a taxi and you got kicked out of this taxi? You were with Amy's
Have to
family
bring that up, do you?
and you got no, but why did she not? What did she see something in you? Like, why do you think she hung around?
Man, if I had the answer to that question, I that's what makes her so special. Like she's been with me since before I was what I would say is a good person or a great person. Like I feel like she definitely saw things in me. But the very first night we met, I got in a fight at the Pie. There's a shop called Pie Face, and I somehow found myself in an altercation. And she obviously wasn't attracted to that, but kept following her up, kept following her up. Success is in the follow up, as we know in sales. Um, but then I took her on our first date. I took her to the rugby. Right, she hates rugby, hates sport. Not hates it, but it's not her thing really. Anyway, she rocks up, and all my mates are there, and she's like, "What is this?" Still stood around, and then that Thailand incident happened, and that for me was like I was literally Googling how do I get a cheap flight home. Fortunately, I couldn't afford a flight, so I had to stick around and deal with the responsibility of it. But she's just always been there, and I think we've definitely had a lot of, for me personally, with my mental health and so many things. She's like always just helped me navigate it, and I think that's why my take on relationships is if you can find someone who genuinely cares about you, and she never criticizes me, she never tells me what to do, but she has this unique ability to make me know what I should be doing to be the best version. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. It's quite incredible.
I can't even picture you getting kicked out of a cab. I don't even understand. But dude, you're an amazing guy. What's the secret? Because I hate working out so much, okay? And no, I'm serious. And I feel like I'm like this rare breed where it's like I am jealous because some people talk about like, oh, you work out, you feel better. No, I work out, I feel worse. I feel bad working out. Okay.
Yep.
The
Yep.
only reason I work out is because the data tells you that you should. But
Yes.
it's a mystery to me because I feel horrible working out. Like, what am I doing wrong? Is it a mindset thing? Is it like help me just like working out a little bit more, Lockie?
Well, the way I would, do you love playing guitar?
Yes.
Okay. So
Well, sometimes. I like
I
playing
love,
live. I don't like practicing.
okay. Okay. Then we got to issue to my example then. No,
Well, give
but
me the
no.
well,
So
I don't know if that's really true because I play a lot of guitar, but I feel like when it comes easy, I like it, and then when I really have to
correct.
learn something, then it's really hard, or
Yes.
then
So,
it's not as fun. Yeah,
and that's you've just nailed it. When it comes easy, you do it. Like it's enjoyable. So for me, the gym, I've been working out and training and at a height level since I was 10 years old. I don't have to, like, I understand what delivers hypertrophy, like, I understand how to get results because it's been what I've done forever. So it's easy. I don't really have to stress about it. For you or for anyone else, I'm not saying you, but for people who genuinely don't like it,
that's
it's
me.
because it's not easy. It might be scary going into a new gym. Like you might be hanging around jack dudes in weird scoop singlets that is lame. I'm just kidding, but there's many reasons why people don't like it, and the only way to get more comfortable with it is do it more. So my idea is like do exercise that you love until you love to exercise. So it may not be the gym, right? If that's intimidating, don't go to the gym. If you like pickleball, just play pickleball because you'll do it. It's the most important exercise you can do is the one that you'll do. So over the time, you'll build confidence. Like I see it all the time with men who maybe are carrying too much weight or are underweight and don't know how to don't feel comfortable in the gym. If they hang out with us for long enough, I train with people all the time because I just love helping people with that. They become more confident, and then they'll start going. They go, actually, I do like the gym. I'm starting to see some results. I don't get nervous about going in there, and it's good to go. And that's like me with the guitar. And we've got examples where I'll be, not I'd love to say tuning the guitar, but I'll be putting George's guitar out, and like I can play a few songs, and you're like, play something. I'm like, nah, because I don't feel comfortable doing that. And so therefore I don't do it, but I could do it and it could be a great time and I probably would enjoy it. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I feel like when I work out, my chest gets tight. It becomes hard to breathe.
Bro, that's
I like
swole.
I what?
And that's
That
getting jacked.
that's but like to me, I just don't like the feeling of working out. But I actually work out pretty regularly is the thing. But
I
I
know.
also feel like I've been the same size for 10 years. Like what I don't know if it's a
Do you
mindset. I don't
do you
maybe I,
want what results are you looking for?
here's what I'm looking for, okay? I am looking for longevity
Yes.
and I want to I don't want to be jacked. To me, I'm not the guy that wants to be jacked.
Cool.
But I want to put the work in my 20s and 30s to not let myself go in my 40s and 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
That is the level of fitness I want to have.
Perfect. So to answer your question then, if you tracked your training, for example, and I'm not sure whether you do or don't, but longevity takes a holistic approach. If you want to build muscle and you don't like that tight feeling, like obviously that's going to happen because there's muscle breakdown. But I guarantee you, we could find a number, and let's say you're doing 3 sets of 10 for your chest exercises, and 3 sets of 10 has you feeling the way that you don't like feeling. So why wouldn't we drop that down to 3 sets of 6 and see how that feels? Or you're always playing with volume. So what volume is when you're training is either reps. So reps is the 10 repetitions, or you're going with the weight or the load. So 60 kilos or 30 pounds on the bar. Okay. Or you're going with the sets, right? How many times you would do 10 reps of 3 sets or 5 sets. And that's going to determine how much weight you actually put through your body. So you could find the number that feels good, and it's not going to bring results as maybe completely going hardcore as quickly. But if you said, okay, over a 12-week period of time, I just want to get a little bit more shape and I want to do it in a way where I feel great, then obviously, let's say the first month, we're not going to feel great because we have to find out what those numbers are that get you there. But once we find the numbers, then we've got the data and you've got it for the rest of your life. The
So,
problem,
yeah.
the problem is people never track their food. And look, if I'm not doing this challenge that I'm doing right now, I'm not tracking food or anything like that, but I have done it and enough times to have an idea of how much food is too much food and things like that. Same with training. So if the more that you track, and even if anyone who's listening who maybe is interested in that, just track something for a week and you'll start to notice some patterns. And patterns is how everything in the world really works. Like it's what triggers everything.
What's one thing that you would track per week? Like something dietary or something physical?
For you at the moment, if you're wanting to build some muscle and not have that feeling, I'd track your weights, like what you're doing. So I'd track the weight, the reps, and the sets.
So, what is like if I were to put a plan like this together, or if someone listening wants to put that together? So, I'm going to
Yep.
track dumbbell bench presses.
Yep.
And
So,
yeah.
yep. It can get as complex as possible, but let's keep it extremely simple. So, for me personally, I train full body. So, you may see like bro splits where it's upper body or lower body or chest and back and whatever. To me, that's just
That's
not,
how I train. Should I not train like that?
dude, completely up to your goals. For me,
But
I just think,
what's your take on it?
well, I'm doing strength training twice a week. So if I just did chest and back, my chest gets hit once a week and my back gets hit once a week and my legs don't get trained at all. So for me, if I did 2 full body sessions a week, my chest is getting hit twice, my back is getting hit twice, my legs are getting hit twice. So to me, the compound growth of that is better. Does that make sense? So that's why I do that.
Yes.
It's super simple. If you've got 10 days a week to train, do your bro splits and whatever. But if you're someone who doesn't like exercise, limited on time, I think full body is the best bang for your buck, and compound movements. So big movements like squats, deadlifts, chin-ups, things like that. And you can do the same program day in, day out. Like if you hate it or you don't understand how to move well, just do the same 5 exercises and play around with the volume, right? So the sets, the reps, and the weights. You can then add tempo in, like you could, instead of just doing your normal pumps, you could go 3 seconds down and the time under tension is harder. So
Yeah.
it's not always about, as much as Instagram loves to tell you that you should be doing, squats on a gym ball or crazy stuff like that. The fundamentals are still the fundamentals that have worked for centuries. So you don't necessarily, it's not sexy. Just like a guitar, you can still play some amazing songs on the fundamental chords. Do that. Like if you want to be great and if you want the results, keep it simple.
Yeah, in theory, this makes sense. I don't think I can. I don't think any of this is going to help me, but hopefully, somebody listening to this will
Dude.
find value out of it.
Well, dude, man, the offer's always there. I'm always keen to throw down with you. I know you.
What do you mean? You're on the other side of the planet. You're in Australia. How are we going to throw down?
I've been in Nashville for 12 months, and I've invited you to train with me multiple times. I'm not going to bring this up in front of the public.
No, bring it up. I've bailed on you every time. I know, because I hate working out, but I will. What are we going to do now? Now I'm committed. What are we going to do? You're gone for the next 6 months.
Dude, I can still program for you. I'm back in 10, 8, 9 weeks.
Let's do it. Would you program something for me?
I can program for you for sure. All you need to do, and this is good for everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not programming for anyone else. But if you guys live in a remote area or whatever, there are some great online trainers. And now with where technology's at, for me, with people, all I would say is like video your gym so I know what equipment that you have. And then we would start with super basic exercises that I would give you videos for, sets and reps, and all you do is tick it off. And that way I can say you did it or you didn't. Okay, and then we get feedback, ouch, that hurt or that didn't. Okay, and then over time, you progress the movements, consistency. So yes, we can do that. We can get you jacked so that next time we're on tour together, we're both outside with our shirts off having coffee. Not that
I was out with my shirts off anyway. It just, you just look better than me. I know last time we were talking, you were working on sponsorships. Do we have sponsorships lined up, or is there still room for sponsorships? Maybe somebody listening to this would want to sponsor this race of yours.
There is still room for sponsorships. As I'm sure you're aware of, Zach, the negotiation is the drawn out part. So at the moment, we have 5 sponsors who are committed, but we're still working out all the finer details. So there's 2 American companies, and three Australian companies. So definitely still room for anyone who's listening if you feel like you'd like to get involved in that.
I'm inspired by this race. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to follow it along. I almost want to fly in for a race or something.
Well, not that I think that's what everyone wants to know, Zach.
What do they want to know?
They want to know: are you going to train up for one of these runs? Even 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers or 26.2 miles.
So I've done a half marathon, and I could do a 5K easily. That doesn't feel that crazy. 10K starts to push it. Probably not is the answer to your question about training up to do a full marathon. But I would love to watch you. Maybe when you're in Tennessee, when you do the race in Nashville. Because then I don't have to travel very far.
Well, I'm not actually doing Nashville, unfortunately.
You're doing Knoxville, right?
Doing Knoxville, yeah.
Yeah.
College town. I think we should put a poll up. I feel like you should definitely do one. I feel like you should push a little bit further than you've done. If you've done a half marathon, you know you can do that.
Yeah, I know I can do a half. Yeah.
Why don't you even just add 2 kilometers to that? Or what's that? Put a mile on top of what you've already done.
Yeah. Can I tell you something? When I finished that half marathon, I don't think I've ever spent so long in the bathroom.
I tell you what, if you do that, I will play a song for you on the guitar in soundcheck.
Okay, but here's the funny thing. Like, I just don't need that. Like, I'm just not dying for that. That would be such a ridiculously lopsided arrangement. I'm going to have to train for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And you're going to play me one song?
Well, what do you want from me?
Maybe if you played a song in the show. Maybe if for one song I hand you my guitar.
There's
And
no
you
chance of that happening.
see your resistance to that is what makes me want to have that be the challenge.
What do you feel the most realistic song that I could play on the electric guitar?
By the
would
way,
be?
because I don't know if we set it up, Lockie is married to Amy Shepard of the band Shepard. He mentioned Amy, and I've been on the road playing guitar for Shepard. We've done how many? We've maybe done 30 dates together,
Yeah, we've done a lot.
roughly, probably about that. The song that I think you could probably manage the most, um, "Good Times." If that gets put back in the set, I think that's pretty easy.
We could definitely just throw that in there for the whole experience.
I think "Good Times." I think you could play that song. That's all cowboy chords, very simple. I think you could do that.
All right, train me up and I'll do it if the band will let me.
Lachlan Stuart is running 58 marathons in 58 days. Follow him on Instagram. What's your handle? It's
Lachlan Stuart, Lachlan, Stuart, Stuart. That's a little side story as well. A lot of people in America have never heard the name Lachlan.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you've noticed, Zach, that when I order coffee or do
You give the
anything where
name
they ask for your
Steve.
name, I go for the name Steve
Yeah.
because I don't want to explain the name anymore.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Listen, you are worthy. I'm proud to know you. I cannot wait to follow this race along. Is it a race? It's a challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah.
Lachlan Stuart is going on a challenge, and he's going to document the whole thing, and you can follow along on Instagram. And while you might not go out and run 58 marathons in 58 days across 2 continents, what you might do is you might be inspired to go do something great in your own life by following what Lockie is doing with this challenge. It's crazy. He's an absolute idiot, but I think he's our idiot. And he means a lot to us. And I think he's going to do it. I know he's going to do it. And I also think that our friend Liam is a moron for giving up 2 months of his life to go with you to do this for no pay. Nobody's getting paid. He's not even going to get the credit of the challenge. And he's still,
how wild is that?
And he still has committed to doing this with you. That's true love. That's true love right there. Maybe you're married to the wrong person. Amy,
no comment.
Amy is not committing to do this race with you, but Liam is. And what have we left? Have we left anything out? Has anything been unsaid? I'm checking my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything. I feel like it's. Yeah.
Dude, I just want to say you're a wonderful host. Like, I've really appreciated it. I don't know whether it is like a different conversation for your audience. I know you've got Nashville briefing and in the music of business and everything like that. So I appreciate you having me on, asking great questions that most people don't. And it's just been like rapid fire. I've loved it.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for coming on.
And I'm going to hold on to, this is my ticket in like 5 years' time where you're like just on this continued upward trajectory where you're hosting the Grammys or something like that. And I'll be like, yo, Zach, you owe me one from when I came on the podcast.
I do owe you one.
Can you take me to Taylor Swift?
No. Before we wrap up, we're with Lachlan Stuart. Lachlan Stuart is going to run 58 marathons in 58 days. Give us the top 3 tips to focusing on your general fitness and longevity.
Consistency, simplicity, fun. So consistently do what you know you need to do. Keep it as simple as possible. You can, if you're following people on social media, just follow one person and implement what they say until you get results or don't get results, and keep it fun. If it becomes a chore, like if people say I have to go to the gym as opposed to I'm grateful I get to go to the gym, it's completely 2 outlooks of the same thing. So they're my 3 tips.
How are you going to have fun on this race? Is it going to be the scenery?
Definitely going to be the scenery. No, in all honesty, like I just genuinely love fitness. Like much like you love what you do, I love fitness. Like I just love the to me, it's like a Rubik's Cube, because it's not just about the physical exertion. It's now, how do I recover all of the stuff we've spoken about.
That's a great answer. Lachlan Stuart on the podcast. We're wrapping up here. Thanks for taking the time all the way in Australia. It's 2 a.m. for him, and he still decided to come on. I don't know what time it actually is. What time is it? It's 2 a.m. Now it's 3 a.m. We started at 2 a.m. Lachie, thanks for coming on. It is great to see you, brother. I miss you. I can't wait to follow this race, and I will see you soon.